Okay guys, we're going to go ahead and rank hands down slides, the forgotten ones, the ones, stand-ups get all the love. However, you can still have some very stylish and very functional slides from hands down. To technically rank in this category, the hands down slide is going to be one that is consistently hands down the whole time. So if you pick your hand up halfway through, I'm not going to include that as one of the possibilities. I'm going to rank slides not necessarily on their difficulty, but on how they look. Do they look good? As well as their versatility, that will score points as well. Let's start ourselves off with the OG. We are starting with the Coleman slide, or I will also put the heel side drift into this category as well to simplify categories. So the Coleman slide is you are putting your lead hand down behind you and you are rotating yourself to slide the board around. This can come in the form of a heel side drift or just the traditional Coleman pendying around and around. This slide doesn't really have too much body movement. You're not going to see a lot of big extension coming from the body. It's basically you put your body in this certain shape and you slightly rotate to initiate that slide. Because of that, there's not a lot of big action from this slide. It's not necessarily a bad looking slide. It's just, not as exciting to watch. There's not much extension from the body. It will look better if you put more of your weight forward in this slide, which is going to go for most slides, not all, but most slides. It's going to look better the more weight forward you have on the board. But all in all, it's fairly difficult to make it look very stylish. I think part of that is to do with the fact that it is one of the earlier slides that you learn, but it is one that is difficult to master and make it look good. Because of that, the Coleman slide it's a good one. It's necessary, very functional. You're going to use it a ton, but very difficult to make it look good. We're going to rank the Coleman slide in the A tier. The next one that we're going to do is a rare one. It's a weird one as well. We're going to go with the nose blunt slide. The nose blunt slide is very similar in style to the Coleman. You're not going to see a lot of body movement, and actually the setup for your body shape for this one, the form, is actually almost the same as the Coleman. The big difference is that the front foot actually has to be beyond the front truck. Hopefully on some sort of kicktail nose will make it a lot easier to initiate. Now, even more so than the Coleman, in order for this to look good, you have to have a ton of your weight up front. For functionality's sake, it's got to actually lift the back of the board up. But also, it looks really bad if you have your weight more centered on the board. This trick has good capacity to actually be creative as well, to lift the back wheels up over an obstacle, a rock in the road, a curb, a manhole, something like that is an obstacle in the road, which can look cool, can also look a little bit kooky sometimes. Also, this trick is very difficult to make look good because of the cramped body positioning. Not only is your body going to be pretty compact with the drop knee form, but that back knee is now lifting up, which is forcing your weight kind of into your body, which definitely can look really wonky when you're riding. Shout out to Cole Kurtz with this trick, because he's probably one of the only skaters I've seen make this look good. The nose blunt slide is very difficult to make it look good, and most of the time it's not great looking. It does have a lot of creativity possibilities, so we're going to go with C tier, which deems it. The next slide that we're going to do is the easiest slide I think of. It's the one that I recommend people learn first. It's the push-up slide. The push-up slide definitely has a bad reputation, and it's pretty much warranted, because the push-up slide does not look very good due to the fact that you're going to have so much weight off your board, and you're basically just holding this isolated position and just letting the board rotate on its own. It's very difficult to make it look in control, because honestly most of the time it's not. The only exception is when somebody is able to get both hands down in drifting into a corner, which gets kind of meme humor points, but not a very good looking trick. The push-up slide is going to go in the D tier. The next trick is very close to being the same as another trick on this list. They're almost the same thing, but I do feel like they deserve their own categories. The first one is going to be the rail grab toe side drift. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your lead hand and you're going to grab down behind your heel side edge, either in front of the front foot or behind the front foot. Shout out to James Kelly and Cooper Darkay. Now, this trick is just as functional as the Coleman. You need to be able to turn left and right on your board when navigating down mountain roads, so it's one of the most functional slides that you can do. Grabbing rail gives off a bit of an aura of extra stability, extra safety. The more connected you are to your board, the more likely you are to stay on it. Sort of, is debatable. But because of that look, it gives off an era of, I don't know if I would say fear, but just a little extra confidence. Because of that, it doesn't necessarily hit that S tier ranking, even though it is a good looking slide. It's just you're giving off a slight amount of discomfort where you really would want to see confidence. Because of that, the rail grab toe is going to get the A tier, right up there with the Coleman. The next slide that we have up is the one-footed Stalefish. Similar to the Coleman or heel side drift, but you're taking your follow leg and you're kicking it straight out and grabbing that Stalefish with the back arm. I most of the time see this trick done at slide jams and things like that. It's a weird trick to pull off and it looks a lot more difficult than it is. This is a very wonky looking slide. It is very stiff. There's not a lot of room for extension or style. You absolutely need to have your upper body upright to make it look even decent. It's kind of one of those slides that's like something that people pull out for a laugh, but it's one of those like safe jokes that you feel like is so agreeable by everybody. It's not a very good looking slide, and it's a bit of a try-hard slide in the humor department, so this is going to go in the D tier. The next slide is the 360 slide slash 270, and yes, it's the downhill variety of the two. I put them in the same category. They're very similar. The 360 slash 270 is a very difficult slide. It's probably one of the hardest ones to do on this list. This slide can be performed as a long drawn out slide or as a quick rapid movement as well. Either way that you do it, they both, in my opinion, look pretty dang good. The 360 full rotation is a very loved movement in all types of sports and physical activity. There's something about the idea of rotating and finishing with the same body position that you started in that is very satisfying to see. For this slide, one thing that is key about making this slide look good is getting the hands back up off the ground as soon as you grip up. If you can actually even get the hand up a little bit before you grip up, that looks even better. The 360-270 goes in the S tier, our first S tier. The next slide is the layback slide, probably about as common as the nose blunt slide. The layback slide looks very similar at first to a Coleman, but the big difference is that you are taking your following hand and you are putting that one down. Now, because of this, it very much changes the body positioning and the comfort for the rider. Unlike the Coleman, the more extension you have in your body, the better this looks. When you have a layback slide where the hand is very close to the body or close to the board or close to the wheels, whatever you want to say, it looks really, really awkward and cramped. It looks very jam-packed and uncomfortable. So for a good layback to really look good, you want to have as much extension away from the board as possible. Because you're putting your following hand down on the ground, it's very difficult to set your weight forward, which makes it very hard to do this trick in a drift into a corner. Because of this, this trick is actually more suited for style in a straight versus using it to enter and slow down into a corner. The layback slide is very cool when people whip it out because you don't see too many of it, and the whole body form gives it a lot more differentiation from the Coleman slide. It is not as functional as the Coleman slide, however. We are going to put the layback in the B tier. The last slide is the one-handed toe side. A lot of the rail grab toe side factors work in this case as well. However, because you are not tied to the exact distance of the grabbing rail arm, there's a lot more room for variety here. You can extend the body a lot further, you can keep the arm really tight into the board to slow down a little faster. This adds a lot of style differentiation for the one-handed toe side slide. It also adds a slight element of danger because anybody who does one-handed toe sides can tell you there's a bit more of a stability factor that you have to kind of key in on when doing one of these one-handers, giving slight danger points to this trick. The last thing that should be noted about this slide is the ability to start compressed, extend the body out, reaching the hand further and the back leg kicking out, and finishing compressed. This feeling is very powerful. It's like you are using the weight of the hand to press out with the back leg. And it's a very satisfying feeling to do, as well as to watch. The one-handed toe side gets to go right up there with the 360-270 slide in the S tier. Done.